Hello, David Moore here, Equity Advantage, IRA Advantage, and I'm blessed once again to have Rachel. And Rachel, we were just discussing rent control and the rules and sort of staying out of an opinion perspective there. But if we're looking at that, if we've got people that are concerned about that, or they don't want to deal with tenants or all these new rules, and I would expect that the cost of management is just going to be increased by all this too. And you better know what you're doing, otherwise there's going to be some liability to you, correct? So if we look at the impact of rent control and sort of our first blush with that, people are not reacting, our investors, our clientele's not reacting very well with that. They're not very excited about it for a variety of reasons. But what other options might be out there for somebody if they're saying, hey, I'm done, I don't want to deal with the new laws, I'm concerned about it, I might not even be able to afford. This is a piece of it they don't understand, is the property owner might not even be able to afford to maintain the things that they've had. But in that situation, what else is out there? If they want to do an exchange, and we talk about what's like kind, what else is out there that would give them something to buy into if they want to stay in the state? Is there passive investment, something that might work that would take care of people going forward?
Yeah, with any 1031 exchange, you can certainly move your funds from the sale of an active investment property into a more passive investment. What's important when you're looking at your passive investment options is that you exchange into an interest in the real property itself. So there some examples are you could go into a DST, you could go into a tenant in common TIC, or triple net lease options are all good options as long as you're clear that what you're actually exchanging into is an interest in the real property itself. If you have multiple investors getting involved, you want to be sure that your funds aren't being pooled into a new entity where you would be really exchanging a partnership interest rather than an interest in the real property itself.
So we've got, so as she just said, partnership interest specifically prohibited from 1031 treatment. Mm-hmm. So if we look at the number of calls or the percentage, I mean, how often do you deal with this issue? I mean, the vesting issue and what people have. How often in a day do you deal with something like that?
Pretty frequently. We've got individuals who may think they own an interest in the property, but if you kind of dig into what they actually own, it's an interest in an entity that owns real property. The problem with that from an exchange standpoint is vesting needs to be the same on both sides of the transaction. The taxpayer or individual who relinquishes the property needs to be the same who receives the replacement property. So if you've got a multi-member entity, LLC, LP, selling a property and that individual really owns only an interest in that entity, they won't be able to move forward in their individual name. That entity would need to do the exchange, which most of the time is not what they're looking to do.
Yeah. And the only exception is an entity created under a 761A election, I believe is the number there. But we just don't see those. No. I mean, it just really never happens. And somebody please tell us why. But anyway, that would be the one exception that we see. But as far as triple net type stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you can, obviously there's sponsors out there. You talked about DSTs, Delaware Statutory Trust. You've got those offerings. And that's an institutional offering. Legally, it's a security. And I guess really, technically, anything that's a passive investment for an investor is. Mm-hmm. So tenancy in common sort of got beat up during the crash. And people blame the TIC structure, which I believe had nothing to do with it. It was the sponsors, it was other things. Mm-hmm. But so we see very few TIC offerings these days on an institutional level. We see lots of DSTs, but those would both be options. What's another sort of triple net option that might be out there for somebody, like a Walgreens or oil can Henry's or something like that?
Yeah, one of those big box
dollar store. Yeah. All those are. We're seeing a lot of that these days, mm-hmm. right? I mean, lots of people are buying into those things. And you made a comment, we were talking earlier about some different things, and we were talking about, well, the nature of that investment is what really is like kind. We don't care if it's triple net or not to that taxpayer. Our client doesn't care. Mm-hmm. Well, they might care. We don't care. They need to get into what's going to be like kind, as Rachel said. So the bottom line is it's the nature of investment rather than the form. We can get you out of these things that you no longer want that maybe took care of you for years. And a lot of times we see this transition happen regardless of the rent control or anything else happening as they get older, right? Because my mom doesn't want to deal with that type of stuff. Honestly, I don't want to deal with it some of the time these days. So anyway, but thank you very much for being here today. Appreciate it. And thank you for being out there. David Moore and Rachel Kotkin, Equity Advantage and IRA Advantage. Thank you.